welcome back to New Jersey Craft Beer, the show. So, another episode, hanging out in the basement again, drinking some Weyerbacher beers, and tonight we have two new people. With us is Heather.
I'm back.
She's back. And we have Natalie from Weyerbacher.
Hello. How are you?
So what are we drinking so far?
Okay, so to start off, I figured we should have a Weyerbacher. This is our Veritas Lupulus. It's a one-off IPA that we just brewed, that the brewery just brewed. It's 7.5%. It has Apollo, Calypso, Galaxy, and Centennial hops in there. It's dry hopped, unfiltered, bottle conditioned. It has, I think like a really resinous, like grapefruit, earthy, but still a little like hop brightness at the end flavor to it, but a little malt sweetness, so it's not overly harsh. Came out really well. The term Veritas Lupulus essentially just means fresh hop, and it's something that we're going to do once a year, just a new IPA with the same label, but it'll be different hops and a different different ABV each year with this Veritas Lupulus. So just, people always want something new. So this was our answer for the spring and summertime.
Are the hops from locally sourced, or are they different from different places?
They're not locally sourced. Okay. They're from where we get all our hops. I know most of our Simcoe hops come from Washington, so when we got our most recent shipment, they came in on that. So that's what we used those hops for. They ordered some extra new ones to use in this IPA, and they'll do the same thing next year, and that's essentially our fresh shipment of when we get the hops. We couldn't call it like fresh hop because it's not a fresh hop, but it was our freshest shipment of the hops from the West Coast that we put into that beer. And I believe they said they dry hopped it every day for like a month in the fermenter. So
no, it's really
pick
delicious,
it up at a local liquor store. There was 200 cases for the state. So.
It's good. Yeah, no, it's delicious. I like the sweetness, and the hops definitely come through. And it's not overly West Coast, overly East Coast. It's nice and balanced IPA. It's delish.
That's what I kind of explained it tonight. It's not Last Chance. It's not Simcoe. It's almost like a hybrid, not in terms of flavor, but like you said, it's not West Coast. It's not East Coast. It's just right in that middle.
It's a little grassy niceness to it. And it's kind of chewy. I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the unfiltered bottle condition aspect of it really adds like that chewy, full mouthfeel. Yeah, so cheers for the Veritas Lupulus.
Definitely.
Very good.
Wolf hop. It's wolf on there. Lupul. Anyways, we won't get into that. I don't know that.
Me either. So tell us about your role within Weyerbacher and what Weyerbacher, has been doing for the last lot of years.
Okay, we make a adjunct lager. No. So Weyerbacher is from Easton, Pennsylvania, which is in eastern Pennsylvania, or right across from Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Or going into New Jersey, going into PA is the first exit off of 70 in Pennsylvania. So probably about an hour and a half from here or so. And we've been around for 18 years. We just celebrated our 18th anniversary in June. We started as a small brew pub in downtown Easton by Dan and Sue Weyerbach. They were looking for something to do. Dan had worked numerous careers. I believe sometime he sold potato chips. And they had driven up to Vermont during the mid-90s and visited all the brew pubs up there. And Sue said, well, Dan, you love to homebrew. Why don't you start a brew pub? He said, okay. So we started brewing beers like ESBs and pale ales, what other homebrewers during the mid-90s start brewing. And, they were good, and people came in for the pizzas and the food, and they liked that, and they liked the beer. But it was really when he brewed his Raspberry Imperial Stout at 8% that everyone went, wow. This is not only an 8% beer, it's a fruited raspberry stout in the mid-90s, what's going on? So he said, all right, this is working. So then in 97, he brewed the Blithering Idiot Barley Wine, which was just called Barley Wine at that time, at 11.1%. Again, late 90s, 11.1%. And it was named after him after an infamous trip to Victory one night. So after that, he kind of said, all right, we're not going to look back. We're going to do full-flavored beers the way I want to do them. And we've just kind of continued from there with Merry Monk starting as Belgian Triple and IPAs. We've revamped, Hops Infusion, was discontinued. We had the new Last Chance in its place. And everything's become consistent over the years since we've brewed it. So even the Blithering Idiot's been around since 97. It's now, all of our brands are consistent, and we've introduced some new beers in the lineup, such as one-offs like the Veritas, a new anniversary each year. Our most, what was our other, I lost the beer I was going to talk about. Sorry.
It's all good. Tiny.
Belgian, Tiny, thank you. Belgian Imperial Stout at 11.8%. Beers like that, just trying to come up with things that we enjoy. And yes, they're a bit higher in alcohol. Last Chance, one of our newer additions, is only 5.9, so going along with the easy drinking beers. Again, just trying to make some great beers out of Easton. We now have 5 brewers, whereas a few years ago we had 1. Dan Weyerbach's, still there in the morning helping out. We just expanded, so we filled our expansion the second we were done building it. We need to expand again. We're in the process of redoing our visitor center, which once it's done, you will have a bus tour up there.
Yeah, there's going to be a New Jersey craft beer bus tour. Stay tuned.
Yes, we've been stay tuned for like 4 months so far, so give us a few more months.
It will happen.
It will happen.
It will be pretty much amazing.
And the biggest thing for us this year is our growth over the past few years will put us at over 15,000 barrels this year. It'll probably be 18,000 for the year, and once you go over 15,000 barrels, you become a regional size brewery, or listed under regional size brewery. So
that's awesome.
We're going to become regional after 18 years. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
And you guys are obviously Weyerbacher's in Jersey and Pennsylvania. Any other states?
We're actually distributed in 17 states. Now, don't cringe when you hear that. We're not really as big as we seem. There were a lot of states that we had opened when we first started brewing, before we had sales reps. We would send some beer there, but over the past 4 or 5 years, we've really came back to Easton and said, okay, we need to grow locally. That's who's going to support us. That's where we need to send, the most amount of beer to, and we'll support them. They'll support us. So we hired a Philly rep. Then a year later, I was hired as a Jersey rep. Then now we have our Lehigh Valley, Scranton, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania rep. Sorry, Pennsylvania. But really, like everywhere in between there, we have a New York City rep. Our next hire will be an Ohio, Pittsburgh rep. So we're going back and growing locally and fulfilling the states that we're already in with reps and filling out that market. But Florida is actually our 3rd best-selling state. I mean, you have a lot of transplants down there, a lot of people going to visit, and they need beer. But other than that, Pennsylvania's 1st, Jersey 2nd. Yay. But yeah, you can find us up and down continuously from Maine to Florida on the East Coast.
Yeah, we saw some stuff when we were in Boston for the Beer Bloggers Conference. At a couple of the places I saw some Weyerbacher sitting around drinking. People were having it at the bar and whatnot.
Yes,
so
they've been really picking up and doing well with it up there.
That's good. So what is your day-to-day with Weyerbacher?
So
through all the Chinese and all that stuff, or nah?
Yeah, I wish. I'm our New Jersey sales rep. I cover the whole state of New Jersey, on and off-premise, meaning on-premise is restaurants and bars, and then off-premise meaning liquor stores, and I go around during the day, stopping anywhere between 10 to upwards of 18 accounts, saying hi, my name's Natalie, I'm from Weyerbacher. If they don't already know me, if you do have our beer, here's a beer to try, you should bring in our beer. Or if they already have our beer, just saying, hey, this is what seasonal is out next, or maybe you should try the Verboten if you haven't had it in stock or on tap before. And just connecting with people, hanging out, talking about beer, and then setting up events, which I just came from one, which is a liquor store tasting. And then we have bar events and beer dinners and beer fests and, events with you guys, and just a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Do about 130 events a year, so I spend pretty much a third of my week always doing events and pretty much just spreading the good word of the ale. Weyerbacher deserves it. They make great beer, and when I first started, they didn't have a presence in New Jersey, and New Jersey's shown Weyerbacher so much love. We can't say thank you enough, and just trying to continue to go out there and drink some Weyerbacher.
Yeah, talk about the growth in New Jersey with Weyerbacher, because it's been insane from my point of view.
It has
Rapid.
been.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yes, so we're distributed through 100 distributors for the whole state of New Jersey. Dan Weyerbacher and President Mike Short actually live about 5 miles from each other. Very good friends. So they were the first distributor that we ever went with. If you're listening in PA, that would be your wholesaler. And they've carried us now for 16 years they've been carrying our brand. We didn't really have any representation in Jersey beforehand, and it's very big to have someone on the streets because they see a face, they have someone going out and doing events. We grew 80% the first year, 50% last year, and the numbers have been going back and forth because of pumpkin release, and we don't have a lot of the keg numbers in yet. So it was at 50, then went up to like 80, then 70. I think we're at 50% growth year to date right now also. And, Hunterdon's growing tremendously, so we're growing along with them. And
I think beer's just growing tremendously in New Jersey. I mean, for sure it is, and all these brands coming up, and but I've seen more and more Weyerbacher everywhere, and it's true. Like, you're out there doing it, and 130 events a year is a lot of events. I'm lucky if I can do 5.
It's a lot, but I've had great people to help me out.
Yeah.
Hunterdon, and then you guys have also helped me out. Heather's worked some events for me.
Yeah.
John, also one of your other
John's
team
a South
members.
Jersey VP. You've seen him.
You don't like them.
He's helping me with events right now. And again, just, I have great people out there helping me and people spreading the word about Weyerbacher. And
even the, in-store tastings people have done, like the liquor stores will even do their own little tastings here and there. We were just down at the...
If
it rings, it rings. No, if we were at the Joe Canals, Woodbridges, Lynn, what was it? Customer Appreciation Party, and they had a cask of Merry Monks with
go for it.
Lemon, lemon grass, lemon verbena,
lemon.
I don't know if
I can't remember.
It was
chamomile and
it was
no.
It was something interesting, and it was really
cranberry.
That's been really good.
It was definitely lemon.
I wasn't there. I was on vacation because then you guys helped out with it.
Yeah, so it was a lemon cask, and I can't remember exactly what else was in it. It was really good.
It had an herb in there also.
Yeah, it was
maybe another fruit addition.
And it was really interesting. And they also had the what was on tap? There was another beer on tap, and the salespeople were just talking about the beers and the passion that came out of the growler station people, and there was 300 people in the store, so it was a busy day. But in those 2-hour, 3-hour window, the beers were just being poured, and the liquor store workers were just like, "Man, this beer's awesome! Try it. Here's what I got out of it." And like the movement has just been tremendous from your sales and reps at going yourself going to the stores and whatever, but also the internal training that they've gotten, whether it's through their personal training or through their distributor or through the internal reps or localized reps, and it's just been amazing to see people. They're like, whoa, they just like, they experience what the beer is supposed to be experienced like, not buy this, it's good. They get exactly. I mean, we're fumbling over what was in that cask, but at the same time we knew it that night, and people went home with growlers and growlers of this stuff, and they're like, wow. And you saw the Twitter following, the Facebook later, like how many people were drinking it, and it was great to see that movement, and it just goes to show that Jersey in general is really growing. We are a bottle state. We know that, unfortunately, but we're growing out of that bottle state, and we're turning more into an on-premise thing. I mean, we've brought how many people out to events at Coppermine, Queen of Hops thing, but also like our launch party, our anniversary party at the Poorhouse, like, you can't fit that many more people in that upstairs space, I gotta say.
No.
And so
gonna
people
need a bigger bar.
Yeah. They're gonna buy that street and build over it. But, it goes to show that the movement is really kind of increasing, through all distributors across the board.
Right, and through everyone out there, just promoting and talking about it and just spreading and saying, this is good, try this. Or whether, bringing a 6-pack to someone or events, it's just, it's great. Oh, we have one of those at home. Sorry. It's a beer can chicken holder. It's really good. We made one the other day with the Dale's Pale Ale.
Yeah. It's going camping with me
Blues.
this weekend.
Excellent.
Probably a deviant underneath that chicken.
I've emptied soda cans before and poured beer into it. But anyway, so yeah, it's a huge tremendous growth. It's just showing that, with the knowledge that people are getting and seeing it out there on social media, that now that they know it's out there, they're going to drink it and they're trying it. Whereas maybe before they just didn't know or didn't really see it and just thought, maybe it was in the cities. But it's people they underestimate it from the outside looking in New Jersey. But man, you guys go through a lot of cases of beer.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I started drinking beer in high school, really. I stole my grandfather's,
So wait until I was 21.
I stole my grandfather's Sam Lagers, my grandfather's Sam Lagers, and now I'm drinking, and then I went to college and discovered La Fin du Monde and Sierra Pale, and I'm like, okay, it's been 16, 17 years since college, and I'm like, oh my God. And, still drinking these things.
You're not that old, 16 years since college.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, but that's how I got into beer. I just started stealing my grandfather's Sam's. And then, it's grown into this exploration, and I think it's really amazing. And yeah, I homebrewed, and I'm really not good at it, and my homebrew equipment's put away right now because I don't have time. But I mean, I think that's how a lot of us have learned. We've tried homebrewing, we've tried, beer in general. So I mean, am I wrong? How did you get into beer, Heather?
My husband, oddly enough. He introduced me to Sierra Nevada because I had thought beer was bad. I didn't like beer, and because all I've had was, the macros, the adjunct lagers, and so I hated it. And then he's like, "Hey, you should try this," and I was like, "Okay." And then I discovered, well, I do like beer, I just didn't like bad beer. So I immediately got into hops right away, which is probably a more unusual first route to go. I think.
Yeah, a lot of people started with the sweeter and more
the white
stouts
wheats.
and wheats. And
shortly
and
after, we went to Michigan for grad school, and we discovered what an IPA is, and just went totally nuts. And then there were double IPAs, and we were in heaven. So Michigan sort of pretty much, Sierra Nevada is responsible, but Michigan is really cultivated our love.
Especially with Founders and all these other ones that
I've yet to go.
Founders, New Holland. I mean, it's just.
Did you get to Shorts while you were out there? I don't know how long Shorts has been around. I don't even know where Shorts. I think it's super far north. I haven't, G.
When I was in grad school, which was a long time ago.
You guys really aren't that holy.
Founders wasn't. I didn't even know Founders. I never had Founders when I was out there. It was very small. Bell's was the big one, and there were all these other ones like Arcadia, Michigan Brewing Company. That was but there's just a ton now, and I brought one a couple actually. That's how I got into beer, and then we came out here, and there was nothing in New Jersey when we moved back, sadly, and there's Weyerbacher and maybe Sierra Nevada, Saranac, some of those beers have been around for a while. That was it. And so that's
and it's been exploration.
That's when we got into home brewing, actually. Okay. My father-in-law did it a while ago, so he had a lot of the equipment, and he showed us how to do it. So we were making our own beer to supplement, to satisfy our need for it. And it wasn't even really that good, so.
That's how a lot of people start. That's why my dad started brewing in '92, is because he would travel. My mom was a travel agent, and they'd travel everywhere, across seas, and they had great beer, and they'd come home and realize there's nothing to drink. And, again, I mean, I would help him, and I was never allowed to taste. And he says, what I made was never great, but it was still better than what was, the skunk Heineken or Grolsch that I could get. Well, the Grolsch was great, but it was most of the time just wherever he would get it was bad. But, it was to supplement what wasn't around. And I think that's how a lot of people in the 90s, and I'm sure way before that, really got into it. So
just rigging up turkey fryers and doing that kind of thing. I mean, that's definitely how a lot of the breweries got started. Brewing with their friends in their backyard. And it goes, and then you get to explore what you've actually consumed, and the recipe building is just like cooking, and it really gets people. Gets your taste buds moving and gets experience making a raspberry imperial stout, which is, things like that. It starts to grow from there. So we're going to take a 5-minute break here, and we'll come right back with another beer. So cheers.
Cheers. Sorry, I already started drinking. Sorry. Cheers.
All right, so we're back.
And we're back drinking a Weyerbacher 18th anniversary to celebrate our 18th anniversary as a brewery. We were started in '95. It's now 2013. Every year, we always challenge ourselves to brew a beer we've never brewed before, something above 10%. This year's is a 11.1% Weizenbach, so it's a really, really big dark wheat ale. We use a Weihenstephanen yeast, which produces all the banana and clove flavors and aroma that you're getting in it. A big malt, chocolate, wheat flavor to the backbone. It is slightly unfiltered and bottle condition in the 12-ounce bottle. So it's just a big, chewy, awesome beer that we release in the summer. Yeah.
It's very warm and loving.
It is. On this really cold August night.
It actually is pretty cool outside, so it's not.
It is cool, yeah.
It's not too bad.
It was like 80 degrees today, so.
I was freezing.
Yeah.
It was lovely. I think the weather was great. We make bigger beers. I like bigger beers all year round. Not bigger in terms of alcohol, just fuller in flavor, not thinner.
Yeah, I mean, you can go and drink session beers all day long, and that's the point of a session beer. But something like a a Tiny or an 18, you're not going to sit there and, I love Tiny, I have bottles saved upstairs, you know, and there's the reason for those is you want something with more deepness, more richness to it, you know. Something
and it's warming not in temperature, but in more like love and just
It's like chili, you know.
Yeah, it's not.
Right. The same way a plate of pasta is warming to the soul, as opposed to, I love salads, but a salad's like, oh yay, this is great, but it's like pasta.
Yeah.
And maybe I love pasta too, so maybe that's why I like it.
No, I totally agree.
Anyways.
And I love both salads and pasta.
So speaking about big beers, full beers, and us being women drinking these styles of beers, we're not allowed to drink that.
You guys should be drinking like water or like smart water or something, right? Is that what we drink?
Malted fruit.
Oh yeah, no, that's what it is.
Vodka.
Those are like those clear
Skinny
ones that starts with
Yes. Totally. Or what else did I get the other day? Tell me what you really drink. Don't lie. You don't have to lie to me. Tell me what you really drink. I know you don't drink this. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah.
No. No one said. Someone said that.
Someone said that. Yeah. It happens.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. So women like beer. Huzzah!
Yay!
I tend to prefer bigger, meatier, muscly beers, just because I don't know. It's just what I like, and I've always liked it. Like I said, I liked hoppy beers to begin with, and hops kind of got me into beer. So I think those flavors that kind of punch you in the mouth and like then give you a nice big hug is what I like. So, and you know, we're big. NJ Craft Beer is a big supporter. Weyerbacher is a big supporter of women in beer, and we're trying to include them. And as you all know, the trick into getting women liking beer is exposure and inclusiveness, and not any sort of marketing plan. So we ran a Queen of Hops event last year. That was phenomenal. We
65
had
beers.
65 beers. I remember them.
It was a women's only homebrew competition. So 65 homebrew entries from only women.
In the local New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area, people submitted beers from all over the area. Actually, what was it? 45 different people, I think, or so, with 65 different beers.
And so, very large age range. I'd say some of the girls looked there, they looked very young 20s, up to, not trying to pinpoint any ages, maybe over 65. Reading some of the entries, we had asked women if they wanted to submit a story, just how they got into brewing. So there was no, standards of just, 26-year-olds entering fruited wheats. So.
Yeah.
And we left it open, completely open. So beginners, like really fresh, right from the very beginning with beginners, they could use
there was no
extracts,
recipe,
they
like,
could use all grain, whatever they wanted.
However
to very seasoned, been brewing for years, home brewers. And it was very interesting, and you really got a nice variety of things, and I think and the response was just kind of amazing. Everyone was just very excited about it. And was,
I mean, and most of these events, and we're not necessarily affiliated with one homebrew club because New Jersey Craft Beer is so large that we hooked up and connected with PA stores. We connected with the Jersey homebrew clubs like BWO and the Whales, like all these different people knew about the event and they put it out there. Barley Legal, like they were even, everyone
Barley
was
Legal Love to Brew. We had Freehold. I mean, everyone, even into PA with Keystone and Philly Homebrew, which is Barry's, Princeton, Wine Barley Hops, Homebrew, just everyone out there. And the biggest thing is we didn't want it to be perceived as an exclusive event that we were excluding males, but just trying to get more women interested. And it's funny because the people that are already in craft beer, you don't always want to slant yourself and be like, oh, well, here's a fruit beer. You should try this to get into beer because you're a woman. But it's just been so many years built up that we've been told what to like, or essentially told that beer is a man's beer, that it's taking a while to break people that think like that. If you're already a foodie necessarily and you're going to try new foods, you're probably already drinking craft beer or tried it. Or, if you have like an interest or a niche like that, you're probably drinking it. But the people that aren't is the people we're reaching out to. hey, I see you picking up, a really nice wine with your dinner. Have you ever thought about craft beer? And a lot of times women haven't, because wine goes with pasta.
Yeah.
That's what goes together. So, we were just trying to, when we said you could brew with a male, but you need to do the majority, just trying to get everyone involved.
Yeah, and I mean, when we did the party, the party itself, the release and an award ceremony and everything, I expected maybe 10 people to show up. There was
odd.
45
all
people.
women at the Copper Mine. Vito, the owner, was like, this is great.
Yeah, there was, everyone's mom came, their cousins,
Mm-hmm.
it was just, and it was a cool thing and a cool experience. And, and we will be doing it again. We just need to secure some details, but it will come up. We'll have it on the website, and we'll be back.
Yes.
Bigger, hopefully, and maybe a little bit more style specific. We're working out the details. We're not really sure exactly what we're going to do, but we will figure it all out. But that was one way of getting people in, females in, and there's others. I mean, there's 2 specific women only, hang out, meet up, kind of go out groups. And there's Beer for Babes, which has been around for a couple years now, and there's also a new one on the market, Girls Pine Out. And then just in general, there's just beer things happening that are geared for specifics. We connected with the Yankee Doodle Tap Room, and they offer a special deal just for women on their women's only night for craft beer, like for New Jersey craft beer members. So it's really cool to see, hell, I can go there for the women's night and girls' night, and boom, now I can get a good deal on beer while hanging out and supporting New Jersey craft beer, and also supporting the local breweries and the regional breweries that are on tap at that specific event. And then you can swing over to the Bent Spoon and get some delicious ice cream. And, just kind of do the same thing over there, where they support, it's owned by a female or partially owned by a female, and it's
Matt and Gabby.
and it's a cool thing. And I heard rumor about other female events coming up.
There are actually one at Nassau Inn. We're still in the very planning stages, but all the brewery reps that are female, we're trying to get involved and have their beer on tap and be there to talk about that night, along with New Jersey Craft Beer, Beer for Babes, Girls Pine Out, and again, just getting people interested in women in coming out and trying something they haven't tried before, or if they have, taking their taste a bit further, and just to come and hang out with other female brewers. Please bring, a guy along, or actually it's kid friendly there.
Yeah,
you can bring your kids and hang out. Again, this is all not trying to exclude anyone, just trying to get more people in general involved in the scene. And there's going to be some food pairings with the beer, maybe some dessert pairings, because who doesn't like that? And again, it's not just wine and cheese that go together, or not just wine and chocolate together. If you go to a cheese shop, more often, I shouldn't say more often than not, but I always say, well, what do you drink with this cheese? And maybe because they know I work for Weyerbacher, but they say beers that they drink with the cheese. There's just more variety, and they pair so well together. So just trying to educate everyone and women that there's so much more out there to try and experience. And I'm open to trying wines if they want to. I try, I'll try wine. So we have that, and then again, Queen of Hops. There's also, what else was I thinking that we're going to do? I think that was it for the weekend.
We'll throw it on the calendar. We'll have it on the website.
There's definitely a lot of Beer for Babes and Girls Pints Night Out. If you're in the Philly area, in Pursuit of Ale, Susie Woods runs. There's the Pink Boots Society overall, which is a national organization for women in the beer industry. Just showing more solidarity. Because you need to be friends with other women in the beer industry, because sometimes you are talked down upon or stereotyped into the mass market of what other people think you should drink or that you do drink, and you might not get offered or get included in conversations that you should be. It's a shame that it's still out there, and a lot of people that are in the craft beer industry say, no, that can't be right. You don't get asked those questions. You don't get told that you don't like beer, and it does happen. It happens, from people that don't understand. You work for Hunter and distributors, and I'm sure you've heard it, oh, do you just work for them, or do you actually drink their beer?
If I look at the Hunter salespeople, like Sam or...
Samantha.
Sorry. So, she drinks beer.
Yes.
The salespeople do drink beer, and and that's important. You want to make sure.
Kristen and Amy
Kristen,
and Rachel, and the office you have Nancy, Sheila, Carrie, Shannon, Katie.
Yeah. They drink
Heather.
beer, you know.
I'm not a woman.
Yes. They do. And everyone has their different taste for beer, just like that. And for a guy, it's okay if you want to drink an Allagash White. There's nothing wrong with it. It's an amazing white wheat beer. Don't be ashamed to drink a chick beer. Like, don't let your friends. It bugs me so much if a guy says to another guy, well, that's a chick beer. It's not a chick beer because of what style it is. I mean, if they're drinking, like, a Smirnoff Raspberry Ice, yeah, like, that's just, no one should drink that. That's not a beer. It's a malt beverage. It's just a shame that happens where people feel like they should or shouldn't drink certain styles.
It's society's fault, really. It's not, a female palate and a male palate are, there's no difference. In fact, female palates have been shown to be a little bit better in, detecting different flavors and things like that. But it's really just what is all around you and what's been kind of thrust upon you as at least in this country. And so yeah, we're on a crusade to change that false.
We're going to throw away, the bikinis that we wear to our beer tastings. You threw your Miller Lite bikini away, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no.
And you got that hat too, right? The one shaped like a 12-pack, right?
Oh, totally,
Yeah.
totally. And that still happens. And, when I have to go to a beer event and stand next to a woman that's scantily clad trying to sell their beer, and I'm standing there with an educated mind as a home brewer, as a sales rep, as someone that's kind of grown up around it, and still I bartend, still at a craft beer bar. The drinker is now able to detect that. They're able to detect who's knowledgeable, who they can go and talk to about the beer at the event, and that's how we're going to move this whole movement. You just keep moving. Is the more people we educate, male, female, and just
yeah. I mean, if you're at the bar and there's someone sitting next to you, ask them what they're drinking. That really works every time. And whether you're trying to date them or not, I mean, you just need to, ask them what they're drinking. I do it all the time. I'm sitting at the bar having dinner or whatever, and I'm like, what are you drinking and why? I mean, that's why we ask these questions every night on Facebook and Twitter.
Ask, what are you drinking right now? And it could be in the morning. Hey, we do it. Evening, afternoon, and the answers are so varied. And it's because why? Or tell me. You even get into the specifics. Tell me, like, what's one of the questions? Is it your current favorite
style
Pilsner
or
style,
whatever? Yeah.
Or your local brewery or a West Coast brewery, or really making people think about why they're doing it and seeing what's going on.
Asking them the ABV just to get them thinking. I want to know what you're actually thinking, because digging into the mind of the craft beer drinker is actually important for drinking beer. And if you don't follow through on what you're actually consuming, you're just drinking to get drunk, and that's not the end result. I mean, it is the end result. That is the end result usually. But yeah,
sometimes.
But you want to drink to also quench your thirst. You want to drink to just the flavor, and have something rather than water or unsweetened iced tea. You want to experience something, and I'm all for unsweetened iced tea. And there's hundreds of different flavors you can experience. So I think it's kind of interesting, and we ask these questions for a reason. Like, I really want to know, because I want to know what you're drinking, and I want to know, where you're drinking it, because I want you to experience what we're putting out there. I want you to experience what we're trying to get you guys to go to, because you might fall in love with this bar in Newark, Jersey, and fall in love with this bar in South Jersey. Well, it's a 2-hour drive. Yeah, well, bring a friend, have them be the DD, and see what they have to offer. And it's
people will drive. They'll drive for events. They'll drive for especially tap takers. There was a few people from Jersey City, and then like just above Princeton area, drove. Well, Jersey City's further drive than Princeton area. Drove in to bar down south the other day for IPA day, and because of a couple IPAs they had on tap, and again, they wouldn't have found out about it if someone didn't share it online and talk to someone else. And it's a community that we're always looking to expand and get.
Yeah, I looked at some Facebook pictures and whatnot after the IPA day, for example, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of New Jersey craft beer members. Like, that's a lot of people that I've seen faces of holding up their membership cards, actually trying to pay, and it's really kind of amazing thing. And and to experience, like, I mean, I've driven 2-3 hours for events. How many people drive to what's that thing out in Three Floyds?
Dark
Lord Day. How many people drive to the Hill Farmstead events? How many people go to just drive up to get some heady topper? I mean, people will drive the 8 hours just to go and get a 4-pack. And and it's a cool experience overall. And I think that, you know, male and female, just go out and see what's going on. And of course, we want to stay in Jersey, but we also, I just went to Pennsylvania to buy beer today. I mean, you know, you want to be able to explore other breweries. You want to be able to explore what's around you, or 12 hours, or whatever you're going to do.
We're this close to New Jersey. We're 5 minutes
literally.
from Phillipsburg, and we have free tours and free beer. But, you know, just exploring what's in your home state and, you know, your local surrounding states. There's so much that the East Coast has to offer. Don't get me wrong. I love Ballast Point, Sculpin. I love West Coast breweries. You know, just Oscar Blues, Left Hand, everything out west. But don't forget to love your locals. You know, there's a lot of people, sometimes they hear like, oh, I picked up a Veritas Lupulus and a Weyerbacher 18th anniversary and I just traded it for this. Well, did you try it? No, I just traded it for something I can't get out there. But if you didn't even try your local beer, it's cool you traded for something you can't get, but you didn't even try it before you traded it.
Yeah.
You know, don't forget to support
Buy two.
Your local, your local breweries, and, you know, not just say, well, we're local, we can get you anytime.
I totally agree.
Yeah, you know, all these breweries that are just coming about in Jersey and PA and New York, you know, they need your help to get the ground running. They're not going to survive unless people continue to go out and support them.
I mean, I don't think
and even if we've been around, we still need support, right? Everyone needs support, no matter how old you are. Just continue to support your local brewery and not the mass swill.
Yeah, and your local and regional bars, restaurants, and beer stores as well. You want to be able to go out there and, you know, kind of see what they're all doing as well, you know? One of the questions from Jim was, which one of your archived or retired beers will possibly be coming back because the fans are asking for it, that kind of thing?
So, in terms of retired beers that, well, we'll go with ones that people always ask about, was the Raspberry Imperial Stout that Dan Weyerbacher started brewing that was so popular. And unfortunately, as we got into expanding our portfolio more and adding new beers, it did kind of suffer because there were more beers out there and it just wasn't as popular. So we did eventually discontinue it. We had some consistency issues in the beer. I always beg for Dan to bring it back. I don't think it's going to happen, maybe for a 20th anniversary. But then we also get asked, when is Rapture coming back? Rapture was a brewery release wine barrel-aged sour that we had done. And it was brewery release, not because we want to annoy people and make such a small barrel, is that we're such a small brewery and we can only hold so many barrels in our brew house that it wouldn't be fair to release it to the market and give each state 10. So we just had it as a brewery release. And it was an amazing American wild ale with the dark wine flavors in there. So what we did is we didn't re-release that beer. Is after that empty, we filled the barrels back up with sour black, or was a black ale, lower percentage, and brewed something again. So, and then we filled those back up, and we do have other sours coming about.
Which is another question.
Another question. So is
from Mark,
Rapture,
you want to know if there are other sours coming out.
If there's Rapture, the recipe exactly, is coming back right now. It was actually one of our brewers' favorites also. So I don't know if it's necessarily coming back anytime soon, but we're going to continue with our sour project. Again, you know, each barrel is 53 gallons. It takes up a lot of space. We don't have a lot of space. It needs to age for at least a year. So it's time and money, and people don't realize that, you know, why it's such limited releases is because they take a long time. It's a small amount of space. So I did ask Chris Wilson, our head brewer, what was coming up next in terms for sours. Every year we do release the Reserva, which is a raspberry sour ale aged in oak, that we reuse the barrels each year because all the bugs, the bread, the lacto, the PDO live in that. So that obviously comes out each year. We had brewed a one-off Brewer Select Berliner Weiss this past year, which we named Zulu. It was just part of our series, the name. We want to go back and visit that process of the Berliner Weiss. So we'll see that again, or, you know, another Berliner Weiss style, not exactly Zulu. We have some ideas that are being thrown around by our other brewers. I know Oren was talking about a Brett IPA. Yes, just told me about it the other day. He says maybe a lactic sour with peach or apricot. Again, this is the first year hearing it, so who knows if these are going to really happen, but
they might, and if they do, they'll definitely be one-offs, and will they be part of that?
It could either be
brewery only?
Sours are always bottles. Depending on which barrels are in and how much space we have at the time, it could be brewery only, or it could be a small limited release like Veritas Lubulis, where we had 200 cases for the state, that would still seem like enough. If you want to find it, you can find it. Sure. Nothing like 10 cases for the state. If it's that small, it'll be brewery. We have stuff in rum barrels, and it's ready to empty. We're just working on planning what we're going to do with it. That might be a brewery only beer, so it's not a sour, but... And then we have... I think that was it on the sours. We always keep some lacto barrels in the back too, with things in there to adjust and blend as other sours come out. And I think that's it for the sours.
Cool. Well, another question from John was, what beer have you not had? What's on your craft beer bucket list? I know it's a tough one.
It is.
A lot of us that have been drinking for a long time have had a lot of beers in our past, and unfortunately and unfortunately at the same time, the ones who are in the industry get their hands on some things sometimes with friends and working in bars and beer trading and all that stuff, that we get a lot of beers. I mean, I have a bucket list, but I can't even remember what it is because I drink everything in low ABV, high ABV, sought after, or
I'll try,
USBs, you know?
Yeah, I'll try anything twice, essentially, because you never know the condition that maybe that bottle was stored in or draft line. So I'll try anything twice, even someone's homebrew. You know, we are fortunate enough to work in the beer industry, so when we go to a bar event, there's always something on tap, and I always look for maybe, you know, what haven't I had, just to have a sample of it, and then I'll get a pint of something else, just to try. I mean, I've had all your big names out there. We could run through the list. You know what they are. I've had a lot of them. You know, I'm just always looking forward to what's coming out next, what's inventive, or even just like what's a solid example of even like a traditional ESB. Like, just give me that. So anything that's new, you know, a new home brew, like what are you brewing? I would love to try. You know, any local breweries to see how they're doing, what they're coming out with.
And you're coming out with something. We just saw it.
Yes. Althea is a new 750 that Weyerbacher will be coming out with in October. It is based off my homebrew recipe, and Althea means healing in Greek, and it's a beer to support breast cancer awareness for the Lehigh Valley Network, and it's going to raise $1 a bottle per 750. It'll be released in October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's a Belgian Abbey Ale with Italian plums, and it should hit around 8.5%. It's fermenting right now. I'm interested to see how that comes out because I brewed it as a home brewer, and Keith from Lehigh Valley Hospital Network said, oh, well, do you hope it's as good as yours? I said, well, no, I know it's going to be better than mine. You know, I'm excited to see how good it's going to be. You know, it'll definitely be better than mine. Not that mine was bad, but it'll be much better.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that turns out. I got to go to the brewery and help them brew it. And again, you know, we're just trying to help out women and families in need and raise money in our local hometown market, as we already do with another one of our brews, Last Chance IPA. We donate proceeds from every keg and case sale to local no-kill animal shelters, and we've raised over $25,000 in 13 months now. A different employee picks a different shelter in any state they want, just no-kill animal shelters. So if you see Last Chance or Althea, be sure to pick it up. We haven't released a picture of Althea yet, but it'll have a soft pink label, and it'll have the description of the beer and who we're donating it to. Actually, I saw the label, but I can't show you yet. It should be on probably Beer Pulse very shortly, or who will then pick it up because they pick up from the TTB and then spread out everywhere.
Sure.
So what do you think? Do you have any beer list or bucket list beers?
Racking my brain, not really. Honestly, not to cop out on the question, because it sounds like I am.
I think I did.
But I actually enjoy most, like, finding a beer that is sort of, like, under the radar or really unassuming and being, like, kind of blown away by it. Like, there's you know, my husband went to Michigan recently and brought back a whole bundle of treats and presents. I considered my own very personal presents. Yeah, and there were a couple of, like, just gems of these brand new breweries, or very small little half brew pubs, half distribution. You know, it was really exciting to see that. I know that's all over the country. It's not just in Michigan. It's not just in Colorado, California. It's everywhere. It's in New Jersey. So discovering those those little gems without kind of expecting it is sort of the most exciting thing about me. Trying a bucket list beer, it's like, it's going to be fantastic because everyone says it is, and it's just on everyone's bucket list. And it's great, and it's wonderful, and when I try it, it's like, woohoo, and it's great. But, yeah, it's finding the new thing, what's coming up next, what kind of collaboration are they doing, what kind of infusion are they doing, what are they trying, what's new, what's a fad, what's like a popular sort of...
Fad's good.
The fads are good, fads in, the beer world.
We're good as
say,
yeah, I don't mean...
They evolve and they develop and they move on, and it's just exciting. So that's my answer.
No, continuing with what Heather said in the fads, there was like a stint of like coffee IPAs, and there was a whole barrel aged movement, a sour movement, and you see, new things that people are trying and hybrid styles. But what I often also look forward to is going back and trying that one beer I love the most, or
the Sierra Pale,
the Sierra Pale, the
ESB, the fuller
the Hotback
ESB,
Amber
Hotback, yep.
is awesome. Ballast Point Sculpin, Cane Overhead, Double Simcoe Insanity from us. There's just so many beers out there that I don't want to forget about, but you're out there trying everything new and new and new, and by the time you come back to these year-round beers or somewhat seasonal beers, you're like, oh, yeah, I love you. Like, I don't want to forget. Everyone else, also, what's your desert island beers? I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's a hard question.
It's very tough.
It
It's what's your favorite song?
What's the temperature? What island am I going to be?
What am I eating?
Am I over there or am I over there? And
Mm-hmm.
that question you can't answer.
Right.
I mean, when you look at the wide array of beer, I go towards ESBs almost every time, and I'm looking, really? And people are like, you're getting an ESB? Yeah, I love ESBs. And you just look at these styles of beer, and people just, they adapt and change, and they grow, and and I always go back to my roots of what I really get into, and it's interesting, and a lot of these, like you said, these fads that come up, try them, see what happens,
right.
Try them again, and see what you like, and that's the cool part about beer in general, is the exploration of it.
And sometimes I miss the one-offs. Like, I'll miss this Veritas Lupulus. Maybe next year's version will be great, but I love that beer. I wouldn't mind if we made that year-round. Unfortunately, we can't get... I don't know if we can get those exact hops and the amounts we would need to make it seasonally or even more. But, like, Port Lost Abbey, their board meet... Or it was Port's, same brewery, but their board meeting with the cocoa, vanilla bean, coffee, Imperial Brown. Like, absolutely love that beer so much. I made a clone of it, like my version of the clone of the beer. It was that good, things like that, the one-offs, and I'm like, ooh, come back.
Yeah. And I think, that's a good way of putting it, is just trying things, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, this is the 18, the 17 was different, the 19 is going to be completely different. Like you said, you don't make the same beer twice. Right. You don't even make the same style, which is... No.
And we always need help. It took us a while to come up with this. And, come next year around mid-spring, if you have ideas, just start posting them somewhere on something of ours. Yeah. And we will definitely... We always need help because everyone's always looking for new ideas, and where do you get that from? So we get it from people, we get it from our brewers, we get it from our cellarmen, which are the guys behind the scene that you have them to thank while you have everything. We get it from the visitor centers employees, the people that come to the visitor centers, from everyone.
Leave notes on social media. When I
listen to them.
Yeah, we post
even if we don't respond.
we post Natalie's events every month.
Thank you.
And so if you want to know what's going on in August, September, January, she'll tell me months ahead of time, and I'm glad to throw it on there. Of course, you can always follow us, shameless plug, NewJerseyCraftBeer.com, and all the other stuff out there. Twitter and Facebook, obviously we're super duper ridiculously active, but then again, so is Natalie. You can follow her.
I'm at WireBacherNet for Twitter. Natalie DeChico, DeChico. It's all about beer. It's not really a personal page anymore. I get yelled at by my friend Jess's mom all the time. Why don't you post pictures of anything besides beer? It's all beer, so don't worry. I won't, tell you I stubbed my toe that day. Weyerbacher Brewing Company has their own Facebook. We have Twitter at Weyerbacher. But mostly anything in New Jersey, just follow me directly. And I post all my events on our website, which is just weyerbacher.com. But most of the time, if you want to find anything and anything being repeated as much as possible, New Jersey Craft Beer.
And it's on our calendar, too.
Yes. Our wholesaler, Hunterdon Distributors, it's HunterdonBrewing.com, but they're the distributor for New Jersey. I mean, pretty much anyone should pick it up. But yeah, just look at it on there, and you should be able to find an event. Come on out, drink some beer with us. We'll be happy to see you out there and share a beer with you.
And so, I think that kind of wraps it up for the night. And
we touched on like everything.
We got everything. So,
that needs more beer.
With that being said, we have to finish this beer and maybe try one of these things from Michigan.
Yes. What were the two, just to mention them really quick before we stop?
Vivant, is that?
So one of them is Brewery Vivant. It's a tiny little, it's really cool. It's in Grand Rapids, but a little bit on the outskirts, so it's not very close to Founders. They only do tall cans, and the brewery's in what used to be a funeral home. Not a funeral home, like a funeral ceremonial. What do you even call that?
Funeral home.
It looks like a church. It's very dark. There's stained glass everywhere. There's the bars where the altar would be, and it's kind of amazing and wonderful. And they only use Belgian yeast, so everything's Belgian basically. I brought their Belgian IPA Triumph, and it's pretty delicious. So maybe
open that up. So.
Yeah, definitely. We could find it. It's beautiful.
It's green.
It's in the kegerator, but we gotta move.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, cheers to you guys. Thanks for watching. Welcome if you're new to us, and check it out on NewJerseyCraftBeer.com. Cheers.
Cheers.